Hi, I'm Jana Peterson. The basics of a building may be the foundation, the roof, and the walls, but the functional day-to-day components of a building also need to be built. These include the cabinets to store things in, as well as different styles of countertops. Carpenters take great pride in creating custom cabinetry, while various styles of countertops can be quite beautiful and durable, but only if the person installing it knows how to do it right. There's more than meets the eye in cabinets and countertops on this episode of Built to Last.
Built to Last is sponsored by Unico Incorporated, manufacturers of the small duct high-velocity HVAC Unico system. Unico is dedicated to the environment and has been serving residential and commercial customers around the corner and around the globe for more than 25 years.
Great Northern Lumber, providing green construction materials from skyscrapers to residential remodel. Proud to serve you for the last 27 years and into the future in the lumber industry.
I was always curious how things were made, and just had a appreciation for it. If you think of woodworking on a whole, it's just like the art of removing material. You want to remove wood any way you can. This is a cabinet scraper. It's got different angles on it. This is mainly used, for cleaning up moldings that have different curves to them. The big crowns like that. If they're machining something, they'll have chatter marks or something like that. So yeah, you just take it. You usually want to give it just a little bit of a bend. Find your sweet spot on the scraper, and go along and remove some material. And this is just another way to remove material. Sometimes if you have a joint or a seam or something like that, or even glue squirt out. We do a lot of gluing clamp, is how most of the construction is done in a wood shop. A lot of people think that you use screws and nails, which we do use, just not on a big scale. A lot of things are glued together, and this will remove glue if it's on your piece, work piece. This was what it was used before sandpaper came out. So this is very old tool to be used. So this is a recent project we just finished. This is a desk and made out of teak. The construction of the desk is called miter folding. Every edge of the desk is cut into a miter at a 45-degree angle, and then we basically fold over everything around all 6 sides and just glued together. The technique over here, you'll see that the grain follows along the desk, comes back down. We call that waterfalling. Just gives the desk a nice look.
Today we're going to discuss custom cabinets a little bit, and what's necessary in the assembly, and what to look for as far as quality goes when you're looking at a cabinet. The necessary parts for cabinets are right sides, left sides, must have a bottom, must have a back, and you must have a top and mid rail to hold this cabinet square together. Now today in particular we are using dowel rod construction to hold our cabinet together, and we're going to rely primarily on glue. These dowel rods in particular are water activated, so glue immediately activates when you put water upon them. The first thing I'm out to do is to assemble the bottom to the cabinet itself, because that's going to hold our cabinet square to start with. And the nice thing about dowel rods is they go together fast. Also today, you'll notice that we have hardware pre-mounted. I have 2 European hinges mounted on here for a door that I'm going to put on, and I have 2 ball bearing slides. And while they may be a little bit expensive, they are the highest quality there is. After we assemble our cabinet, we made sure that we pre-mounted all of our hardware prior to assembly, because it's much easier to mount the stuff to the cabinet sides on the bench than it is after a cabinet's together, of course. Now though, we're going to have to cut a bunch of doors for the cabinets that we made, and we're going to try and keep our doors all drilled in the same spots. To drill holes for European hinges, we go to a hinge machine. This is automatically set up to cut the exact size hole for a 37mm drum in the hinge. That's also an industry standard. Okay, now we're going to assemble a face frame. And face frames are assembled commonly with pocket screws. Pocket screws come in from the back side of the face frame on an angle, thereby needing a jig for pocket screwing itself. Now to do so, a simple clamping device is all that's necessary, as long as you have the right bit to drill the pocket screws out. Now it's always smart to clamp your work to a bench while you're assembling. Of course, I would put glue in this, but for demonstrations, I won't. Now, 2 more ways of assembling our joints, be it flat panel or face frame, come onto the edge, and those come in the form of biscuits and now dominoes. Dominoes are a little bit more expensive, and they're for much heavier work in certain applications. But biscuits are done with a plate joiner. You can see half the shape on one side, and this is the cut it will produce. So a biscuit fits inside the slot, and inside the slot, glue and clamp.
Ooh, look at this contemporary kitchen and this gorgeous custom bath retreat. Oh, having a custom designed home is really a dream for many of us, but you know what? It's always fun to dream, and today we have a real treat for you. We're going to be visiting Gleason Woodwork Incorporated, and Tom Gleason, who is the owner of the shop, is going to take us on a tour today. They do exquisite, high-end custom designs, and I can't wait to see the product. So let's go take a look. Well, Tom, it's so nice to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you, too.
Thank you so much. Well, first of all, tell me a little bit about what Gleason Woodwork does.
We are a completely custom shop in woodworking. What you're standing in front right now happens to be a piece of furniture, but that also includes really anything wood in a house, with the exception of floors. We can do the trim, the doors, but probably our forte is custom cabinets. There's some things that are done by machine, and we try to be as modern as the next shop to to use the latest CNC or computer equipment to do it, but at the same time it's a lot of hand skills. And the only way to get the hand skills is by experience.
Right, right.
So we have one young man you'll meet later who's just a year journeyman. He went through the 4-year apprenticeship, learned a great deal, and he's just going gangbusters right now.
Tom, after hearing about this, I'm really excited to see how this whole custom cabinetry process begins. So where do we start?
Well, once you've met with your architect or designer, in most cases, it comes to us, and why don't we go to the office and I'll show you what we do next.
Okay.
Here in the office, now that we've signed a contract and we're getting ready to work, the things that we need to do is work out all your materials, your colors, and begin to put things on paper. I do this as a project manager. In fact, that's probably my main role here. As with Chuck, he's also, between the two of us, we handle all of the work within our particular shop. Let's say one of the aspects is the materials.
Okay.
And with the materials, in a particular job we'll see later, there's been a choice made as far as English sycamore. And these are different samples that we have picked out by your request. You said you wanted something very figured, which has the highly reflective markings, and you wanted something really light. So we've gone to veneer suppliers and sourced these out and brought them here so that you could take a look at them. If you like the figure on them, what we then would do is actually have these laid up onto a piece of plywood and do a finish sample on them.
Okay.
Now that you've chosen the material, the veneer that you want, there's even more detail involved, that how the veneer is actually laid up on a panel, the matching process, and especially important on a highly figured wood like this English sycamore, that the moire effect, you've gone through and you've decided that you like this particular look, you don't like that. So we've actually marked up these two panels so we can send it to our veneer fabricator who makes up our panels for us, our specifications, so that they understand exactly the way we want it, which is the way you want it. Concurrently, while this is going on, Steve, our CAD engineer, is drawing up your kitchen and doing all the precise details on how everything's going to work, how it's going to go together, what hinges we're going to use on the doors, what materials goes where. And it's, in this particular one, which you'll see later in the shop, it's as complex as anything that we've ever done. It's very geometrical. Not sure if this will really show closely how it's all done, but different colors represent different materials. In this particular one, it's either all the quartered English sycamore or a high gloss white. Steve's drawn it, you've approved it. We're ready to go now as far as the actual fabrication.
Okay.
We come to Bob. Bob takes Steve's drawings and he works directly from those. He can actually zoom down into the tiniest detail to know what the intent was. And he may change a little bit here and there. He does that on the fly, so that when we're done here with the cutting, that every piece matches the drawing, and the drawing then is our language to the rest of the people in the shop as far as putting it together. So the first step after Bob is done is the assembly of the box part of the job, which is what Sean is doing right now. He just clamped up one particular box, and while that's clamping for a short period of time, he's assembling with the dowels the next part of the job. Besides assembling just the boxes, there's all the pieces that go on top of the box. Right now, George here is beginning to put on edges of the veneer on some of the door panels that Bob cut before. We do what we can by machine, which is the square edges on the door, but any place that there's a bevel, the machine can't do that. That has to be done by hand.
Okay.
And this particular job has a great many angles on it, and George is working to glue those veneer pieces on. When he's done with that particular door, it'll look like this with the nice edge on the back.
Nice.
On the cabinets themselves, none of this has been sanded out yet. It still needs to be sanded. But on the interior of it,
Oh, yeah.
So there are no shells yet, but this is as far as how it's going to look all together.
Okay.
The project has, as mentioned, two components. We have the sycamore grain, and when that's done, that's how it looks finished. It really shows the moire effect of the wood on it, highlighted by it's just a clear finish on it. And then these upper components, which are doors, will be painted high gloss.
Okay.
And so these doors become the white high gloss finish.
That's unbelievable. To finish off the kitchen and to complete this whole area, let's talk countertops now with Ray Coach. Good to see you, Ray.
Hey there, how you doing?
Fine, thank you. Now, there are so many different materials that we can use for kitchen countertops. So explain to me what you've got all here. Lots of samples.
Well, obviously, price is the biggest factor when you talk about materials. For years and years, laminate has been the standard. And then came along solid surface and granite. Everybody wants granite today. But the actual substitute for it is solid surface.
Okay.
Solid surface is less expensive and more versatile. You can do a lot more with solid surface than you can with granite.
Okay.
However, it does range in price from anywhere from $15 to $30 a square foot. That's before you start really working on it.
Okay.
However, another thing about plastic laminates that we may have forgotten is now they're completely recycled material.
Green product.
Green
Okay.
products, exactly. It would probably startle you to know that this was actually made out of crushed banana peels.
Are you serious?
I'm serious.
Oh, wow.
And guess what?
What?
It's still expensive. Speaking of green materials,
Okay.
I also have some bamboo with us today that we've been using a lot lately. Bamboo rejuvenates itself off and very quickly, over and over again.
So it's a good product to use. So in the
Very
wild,
good,
it
very
grows
good product.
back.
In the wild, it grows like crazy, to be
Okay.
honest with you.
Okay, great. And what do we have up here? Lots of colors. I like looking at the samples.
Okay, well, some of these samples will look fantastic in your house, but then there's other samples that will look really bad in your house. You could see you're probably scratching your head saying, why would I go with something so dark and with all that gold? And it all depends on the background. In a lot of commercial atmospheres, this is actually far more appropriate than a regular piece of granite-looking solid surface. Now, of course, the price difference, quite a bit.
Yeah.
At least $10 to $15 a square foot more.
Okay.
And if you start adding up square footage, you can spend a lot of money.
That gets to be a lot. And then what about maintenance too? With something like that, don't you have to seal it a lot?
Solid surface isn't bad, and it's also repairable. That's the one nice thing about it. You could do a lot of things to solid surface that you do to regular wood products. However, you can't really do that with granite products. So as far as maintenance goes, once you leave the shop with this stuff, at home you could get it resanded a little bit down the line, maybe 5-10 years down the line, but on a yearly basis there's not a lot you have to do with it.
Okay, well that's great for families, you know,
Yes.
especially with lots of kids and lots of traffic in the kitchen and stuff and bathrooms.
Therefore, you don't want to have that glossy finish. They'll show up scratches very easy. Always
More
pick
matte.
a matte finish, that's right.
Okay. Ray, it seems like with countertops there are so many specialties that you can do, but first, what exactly is an inlay?
Well, an inlay is where we're going to remove some material and replace it with some other type of material.
Okay, so like what we see right here.
What we see right here is a router bit that's actually taking this material out. That's the actual router bit itself.
Okay.
But once it's out, you got to fill it back up with something.
Okay.
That's usually either the same material, only a much skinnier piece, and probably a different color, or a resin liquid itself that goes in there wet and winds up hardening over time.
Okay.
And then you sand it flush and you have a perfectly smooth surface.
I love this. And then even with the squares here that are different colors, you know, when I take a look at that, it seems like this whole inlay process is really labor intensive. Am I right?
Yes, you are.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, it used to be a lot more difficult before today's technology.
Okay. Well, let's take
A
this
long
away.
time
What do you
ago,
got?
long time ago, to actually produce these inlays, we had to clamp templates into place and actually follow them with a router. You didn't have much room for error. We would have to route all the way across and all the way through. And if you made a mistake on this material, it's a very expensive mistake. However, now we have a machine that takes care of those problems for us.
Ray, so this is where the whole creative process begins, huh? right here with this.
That's correct. This is the technology that we have today that we didn't have a while ago, where we could speed things up quite a bit.
Look at that, built to last.
Built
in
to
honor
last.
of me today, huh?
Just because you were coming today.
Now, do you create the different designs? Because I'm sure in today's world, you can practically design anything, can't you?
That's correct.
Okay.
A nice feature about the technology that we have today is our mistakes are caught way in advance. If we do make a mistake, we catch them before we ever send them to a machine.
Okay.
All we have to do is simulate what we're doing ahead of time.
Okay, so like that would be, you know, a countertop or whatever material you're working with.
Whatever design that you can come up with that you could draw over here, the machine will produce in the order that you tell it to. And through this software, we draw whatever we want, and then we send that numeric code into the machine that's behind me.
So Ray, coming off the CNC machine, we've got a finished built to last sign. So what do you look for from here after it's off the machine?
Well, we want to make sure that all of our edges cut where we wanted them to. That's real important. Every now and then, you still could get something go wrong along one of these straight edges, or maybe a letter's smaller than what you were after. But very rarely does that machine make mistakes. That's one of the beautiful parts about it. However, the only thing left to scream about, all we got to do is mount this now to any substrate that you need. In our case, a black background, which happens to be laminate on top of a piece of MDF fiberboard, which is nothing more than a substrate and gives it that background. From there, I would actually, if you would help me, I would build some kind of frame to go around the whole thing. And this is more of what you see when you think of built to last.
Yeah. So this is a sign, and then getting back to the CNC machine, that really is so useful for so many different things, because we were talking about inlays first.
That's right.
So it can make signs, inlays, all different kinds of things.
I was fortunate enough to actually run an inlay back there, and this is the exact same artwork that we ran before. There's nothing different. A different tool that makes it much less deep, okay? And then we're going to fill this with something afterwards, which is actually what I'm going to do right now, just so you know, this isn't really magic or anything out of this world. It's relatively simple.
And now this is resin.
This is a resin. There's lots of them to choose from in lots of colors. You got to be careful of the drying time. Some dry quick, some dry slow, but they all do the same thing. They bring out that groove that you put in there. And it doesn't take very long. This stuff in particular will dry within 30 seconds on us. So we really do got to move relatively quick here. And I did do this on a piece of solid surface. And whenever we work with solid surface, we have to use alcohol, denatured alcohol, to take off the excess that we don't want.
Wow, look at that. Look at that coming up. That is so, you can really see the letters now.
And you could put any design in there that you want. It's not limited to letters or anything of the such. You can, if you could design it, you can cut it on a CNC machine.
So that's where the whole creative thing comes in, and that's really your expertise. I mean, you've been doing this a very long time. How many years of experience do you have in?
I started in 1980. So
wow.
Let's do the math. Yeah, we're getting old.
No.
But it wasn't this easy in 1980, I'll tell you that. That CNC machine was nowhere near as advanced as it is now.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Some great information. We enjoyed it. Computers have helped cabinet makers create even higher quality products. And like in other aspects of carpentry, it's helped get more done in less time. There will always be an appreciation for custom work, and cabinetry is probably the best example of that, because in the past, custom cabinets were the only ones available. But today, there are many high-volume manufacturers of box cabinets. But when someone wants a quality job for their home or office, they call a custom cabinet maker who specializes in delivering that vision. Thanks for watching today on Built to Last. We'll see you next time.
Visit the Built to Last website to learn about these topics and more.
Built to Last is sponsored by Unico Incorporated, manufacturers of the small duct high-velocity HVAC Unico system. Unico is dedicated to the environment and has been serving residential and commercial customers around the corner and around the globe for more than 25 years.
Great Northern Lumber, providing green construction materials from skyscrapers to residential remodel. Proud to serve you for the last 27 years and into the future in the lumber industry.